Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Breaking the Silence, a podcast where we talk about mental health, recovery, personal stories, personal experiences. I'm very, very honored to have Caroline Barrett here with us today. Caroline is the founder of Sober Me, and is somebody that's helping people in recovery today. Caroline, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I know our viewers and our listeners will really, hear the impact of your experience and your story, and I hope somebody can take something out of this today, and I'm sure that they will. And I was doing a little bit of background research on your business and your personal story, and sort of how Sober Me came about, and sort of what it is that you do now, and being an instrumental piece and helping others deal with the impact of addiction and heal, most importantly, from the impact of addiction. Maybe just tell me a little bit about your background and your history and how Sober Me came about.
Okay. Well, I am 9 years sober, so September 10th.
Congrats.
It was 9 years, thank you. I drank every night. So that was my life for a very, very long time, where I was intoxicated every single night. My brother is almost 10 years sober, so I lived with a sibling who struggled a great deal with addiction. There was a lot of ups and downs with him because he was born with a hole in his heart. So it was like, there's always a worry, even more of a worry because of the hole in his heart. It's just, the impact that it had on our entire family was amazing how we even got past that. So, and then my best friend Eddie died in 2019 due to a fentanyl overdose. So I have a little bit of, and Eddie was like, we were super close. We were really inseparable. So it really affected me a great deal. But because of my sobriety, and I had been doing this for so long, I looked into being a recovery coach because it was brought to my attention. And and that was it. And I looked up and I went to school, and now I've got my certification as a recovery coach.
Amazing. Good for you. And
thank you.
I'm sure being able to carry that sort of message and, sort of create that journey and that path for you is something that's, impactful because it's so close to your heart, right? And, I think a lot of times, even sometimes when we do podcasts here and, we talk about addiction, we talk about the individual itself, right? And, a lot of times, sort of what gets sort of brushed to the wayside is, the impact of family, right? And here we have a family program just specifically for family members so that they can learn tools and learn, about how to not enable, how to set proper boundaries, how to create, sort of that distance where it's coming from a place of love, but there's some direct sort of structure around how they have communication with their loved ones, right? And I always say that when somebody is struggling, the family really gets impacted, and when they get well, the family can also get well, right? It's almost like recovery is this unilateral piece that really impacts everybody down the line. Speaking from your own personal experience with that, when you have somebody that's struggling with addiction, it almost feels like, gosh, the weight of the world is on them or on you, right? And how do you, what was the hardest part about that journey, seeing, your best friend, seeing your brother struggle with addiction, and how that sort of, created that mindset for yourself to make change? Well,
I think for me, it was that we didn't, the pressure of my brother, just always keeping an eye on him, making sure that he was okay. He didn't answer the phone, so it's all panic mode. Where is he? Or I'd go home and have to make sure that he was alive when I walked in the door. So that it was all put on me because it was only the two of us as siblings, and I'm the oldest, so I was always kind of that caregiver. Yeah. And the same with Eddie, I always took care of him. When he passed away, his sister-in-law said to me, I said to her, I have no one to take care of anymore. And she said, well, now you can take care of yourself. So it was such a big impact. And, the fact that the doctors weren't available, at that time, I feel like there wasn't much out there for us, for anyone in general, for sobriety, for anything like that, because it was so limited. I remember my mom asking for help at the hospital and saying, I need help. He's not getting better. And they were like, well, he needs to do what he needs to do. If he's ready, he'll do it. And then they were so rude to my mom. They were horrible to my mom. And they were horrible to him. So it just, that stress. When
you hear someone say to you, like, they got to be ready to do it on their own. What was it like for you? Like,
frustrating. Frustrating, because it's like, what can we do? Like, then watch him just die? You know what I mean? And he was slowly deteriorating. He was getting to a point where it was just like, it just wasn't him anymore. And then it's like, it was a constant worry, constant fear. So. Yeah.
So, losing your friend, best friend, such an impact. And is that really the first time that you sort of came across grief and what that was for you, and sort of, this process that's like so difficult, and there's just so many emotions tied to it, right? And, they say grief comes in stages. How was that example or that personal experience for you, and sort of what came out of it, when you were sort of able to process it?
I think, like, I'd lost grandparents before. We're from Montreal, so we weren't like in the same city as my family, my extended family. So we were further out, but still I lost grandparents before, but this was my right side. This was the guy that, like, he was super fit, and, like, he knew how to eat properly. He had everything. And then, so I relied on him for so many things, like, if I want to start eating healthy, like, what should I do? He was like my point, like, he was my right side. And so it was very hard. When he passed away, I got to the house that night, and I did ask if I could see him, because I needed to register in my brain that he was gone. And I did. I saw him, and that was pretty impactful on me. And I think when I go back to it, I remember that night minute by minute, like, it just everything about that night, because I've replayed it over and over and over in my head. But like, I think I learned the strength that I have, because I could have gone back to drinking, because I was 3 years sober when he passed away. And so I could have gone back to drinking. I could have used that as an excuse for myself to go back, but I chose not. His brother had said to me, how come you haven't gone back to drinking? Like, how come you haven't relapsed since that? And I said, because I still want to live. I'm still here to live, so I can't go ahead down that path anymore. I have to be healthy. Well,
I mean, it's also too, like, you could look at it from the perspective that you're trying to live through his legacy and stay the course. And I'm sure that that's something that he would have wanted for you as well, right? So that's such a man. And it's hard, right? Because, people in recovery oftentimes say, well, if I have a loved one that passes away, or a best friend that passes away, I don't know if I'm able to stay sober. I don't know if that's what that's going to look like, right? And obviously, you've been able to experience that and go through it and still come out the other side of sobriety. So, is that something that you sort of tell people when you work with clients on a regular basis, like, hey, like, there is nothing that can deter you from going back and relapsing, like, nothing that will happen?
I always tell them there's things that pop up. Like, I have had triggers along the way, like, where I've seen, like, I've just run into incidences and I've been, like, triggered, and I've had to just, like, calm myself down. Like, so like, and I tell them, like, when Eddie passed away, then my dog died, and then my boyfriend had left at the time that I was with. So it was like, in a year and a half, I went through so much trauma, and I almost, like, I felt the urge after my boyfriend had left, and my ex-boyfriend had left. I had that huge urge, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give that to somebody else. So I pushed through it. So, I stress that out to people a lot. Like, I say that there's always going to be a trigger or a craving that's going to pop in out of nowhere. And you've got to learn how to cope with that. Absolutely.
And, like, through your own journey, I'm sure, like, in the beginning, when you first got into drinking and, being around it, there was probably this misconception around that, addicts are stereotypes. There's a stereotype of a specific person. Maybe it's somebody that's, sleeping under a bridge, or someone that's had, physical or mental abuse as a kid growing up. And, what do you think, from your own personal experience, can you say what that misconception was for you, and how that was able to sort of shift and change, obviously experiencing your best friend go through it, who's someone that you think the world of?
Well, see, when I do the motivational speaking, I always stress that he was really well educated. He was very fit, very healthy. Like, he ate healthy when he was doing well. He just became an addict in that time. So I try and stress as much as I can that it doesn't matter. Anybody can become an addict. Like, it's like, it can happen you can go in for surgery and take Oxycontins or take something, and then boom, all of a sudden, there you go. But some people don't get that. Like, they don't become addicts from it. So it can happen to anybody. Yeah. And that's what I try and stress as much as possible, that like, doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, again, you know, like I really want to go back to what you said about pressure, you know, and, you know, helping families deal with that impact. Like in terms of what you do as, you know, sort of this purpose, what keeps you sort of motivated to continue to help other people and get you in that place of like, I really want to help, you know, maybe the addict, but most importantly, the family, because I've been through it. What sort of keeps you on that trajectory? Well,
it's because I've been through it. So, and I know, like, I saw the pain. I remember one time I was living in Toronto, but I was back in Burlington, and my brother had just, was in the hospital at that point. And my mom lied down on the couch, and I looked over at her and I was thinking, how are we doing this? How are we going through this? So I want other families to realize that they're not alone, and that there is, you know, there is help out there for them, that people that do actually understand are not, they've been through it. They have lived experience, and that we've gotten out on the other side.
Yeah. So if you can do it, you know, somebody else can do it. And here's how to do it. Here's how to do it. So do you find that that's something that is common in what you do today with working with individuals? Like, tell me a little bit about Sober Me and sort of how you've been able to sort of grow, and where you maybe, you know, started, and how it kind of, you know, came to where it is today. Well,
I started doing it. I heard about sober coaching in 2020. And then what happened was I looked it up, and I was like, well, I've been doing this kind of for like this many years, so I might as well. So, you know, like in my journey of sobriety, at that time when I got sober, my brother's 10 years sober. So, and I got sober, but I was going to AA meetings with him as a support system.
Right.
And then, because my mom always said, whatever you do, he's going to follow. And so he did. Like, he was there and he got sober. Like, it was like, well, we were going to AA, and actually it's kind of a funny story, because the guy who was speaking on the stage said, he goes, you know you're an alcoholic when you black out all the time. And my brother went, that's you. Because I just said, I'm blacking out all the time. This isn't right. So anyways, and that helps. Helping him get sober helped me get sober. Yeah. So it was just a full, you know, and then I heard about them sober coaching. I looked it up, and I did the research on it, and then I just went and I signed up for school right away. And so that's been really good. And then I've reached out to other sober coaches in between, and just kind of like been in that like area like to learn more about it. So so, and then I started the family support, because I know what that's like, and the stress, and then feeling like there's no one out there that understands. You know, like people would say to me, they were like, well, doesn't he know, like, doesn't your brother love his son and it was like, he does love his son, but he's an addict. So it's people, I was talking to the wrong people that didn't understand what we were going through as a family. And or people would say to me, oh, well, you can just go live your life, you don't need to worry about your brother. Yeah, but he's my brother. You know, and that for me was super important. Yeah. You were very close. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. That affected me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wholeheartedly.
And I'm sure, like, as you know, continue to move forward in your own recovery, like, you know, you probably at that point understand what people are saying to you. Like, yeah, he's got to go do his own thing. Yeah. And there's nothing that you can do, you know, to help him. You just got to let, you know, when he's ready to come.
That's it.
And do this, he's ready to come and do this. Yeah. But I'm sure, like, hearing that in the beginning, not knowing what this was all about, was frustrating.
Yeah, like, I think, well, for him, when my mom had called me and said that he's going to get sober, and I said, no, I'm done. I've had enough. And then now, and I share his story of how he was like where he was, and now he's got 2 businesses, and he's gotten married, and he has another kid. Like, he's done so well. So I like to share his journey too, not completely, but like, you know, just some parts of it, just to show that, like, we were all there at one point in our lives, and now it's changed into a whole other thing. So yeah.
If you were to, like, maybe tell me a little bit about, like, what you say to families, or how you sort of coach and guide them into a place of acceptance, right? Because, you know, when we think about, you know, families that are struggling with the impact of a loved one, we talk about the 3 C's, right? Can't control it, can't cure it, didn't cause it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, like, what is your message, or what is something that you say to these loved ones, or, you know, that are struggling with understanding why their loved one can't stop using, why they continue to use, even though it's breaking the hearts of, you know, everybody around them? You know, what is that message, or what is that sort of approach that you use?
I think, like, just, you know, looking up to see the support for yourself, you know, just going and like we went to meetings as well, like before this, like as a family. And so I think just like looking up support systems online, and reaching out to those and like learning more about addiction, can kind of give you a better idea of what that person is going through. They're not choosing to do this.
Yeah.
I think that's a very big misconception. And that's why there's so much stigma towards it, because people think that, oh no, they choose to do this. They don't choose to get up and be drunk all day. You know, like, this is something that's completely out of their control.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think educating yourself on it, looking up support systems online, and then reaching out to like, other like places like facilities and see if they offer this, like a family support system.
Absolutely. I mean, there's Al-Anon, there's Nar-Anon, you know, those types of self-help groups for loved ones. And I think that that's, you know, a big proponent. And, you know, obviously, you know, as we sort of continue to evolve and learn more about addiction and, you know, sort of, you know, the impact that it has, there's so much support and so many groups out there for people to access. You know, and I think personal stories is where, you know, people can really relate to, because you know, you've been through it and you've experienced it. And, you know, I think that there's always this like sentimental, personal touch associated with somebody that's been like, hey, you know, I've been in your shoes and I've gone through this, and I understand what you're feeling. I understand what it is that you're going through. And, you know, I'll tell you that all you got to do is just have faith, hope, acceptance, and courage. And, you know, hopefully, you know, one day at a time, you know,
that's it.
And just have that faith that everything is going to be okay and that person will find their way.
Hopefully,
great.
So,
well, thank you so much for joining us today, Caroline. I'm here with Caroline Barrett, founder of Sober Me, recovery coach, mental health advocate, and you know, sharing her personal experience across the world, and you know, allowing other people to understand that there is a solution, that there is hope through personal experience and triumph. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thanks.